right, we are moving on rather quickly to the next story. A bittersweet moment for the families of the victims of Bloody Sunday. Well, you can see there's some level of satisfaction from pictures coming to us. In 1972, terror gripped people in Londonderry, Northern Ireland, as the civil rights movement turned deadly. Now, at the same site, you can see it there, elation that finally the 14 people gunned down have been exonerated. Phil Black has been following the story and joins us live from London with more on what took years and years in the form of finally a report for the United Kingdom to say that the actions were unjustifiable on that day, Phil.
Yeah, indeed, Hala. A painful chapter of Northern Ireland's history has now been officially rewritten. A first inquiry into the events of Bloody Sunday in the same year that massacre took place, 1972, found that the soldiers who had fired on civilians there had acted in self-defence, and at least some of those victims had carried or were using weapons on that day. Now that version of history has been completely overturned. An inquiry that has run 12 years in this country has now found that it was the soldiers who fired first. They were not provoked, that the marchers that day were innocent civilians and they were not carrying weapons. As I say, a complete reversal of the historical events at the time. Some of those victims, the report says, were in fact fleeing the shooting or helping others who were injured. The language is very strong. British Prime Minister David Cameron today in Parliament said he didn't feel comfortable criticising British soldiers, but he had no choice. Their actions were wrong, they were indefensible. The findings of the report he described as shocking. Take a listen now to David Cameron describing the tone and substance of this inquiry's report.
There is no doubt, there is nothing equivocal, there are no ambiguities. What happened on Bloody Sunday was both unjustified and unjustifiable. It was wrong. Lord Savile concludes,
Bloody Sunday has long been seen as an event that escalated the conflict in Northern Ireland, that boosted support for the IRA, and as a catalyst for much of the violence that followed. Today, this report has now led to a historic moment. David Cameron has apologised for the events of that day, saying on behalf of the country, on behalf of the government, he is deeply sorry for the actions of those soldiers. Hello.
All right, Phil Black live in London. Thanks very much. As we saw there a little bit earlier, there was celebration in the streets of Londonderry. Thousands gathered at Guildhall, where families of the 14 victims were handed those long-awaited findings. A thumbs up through a window told the crowd they'd received the justice they'd fought for these past 38 years. Journalist Peter Taggart was there and joins us now on the line. Peter, I guess there are two outstanding questions right now. One is, does this provide in any way closure for the people of Northern Ireland regarding Bloody Sunday?
Well, it provides an element of closure, certainly for the families who've seen the celebrations. They are absolutely elated. They're delighted that their loved ones, their names have been cleared. They've fought a long, hard battle, 38 long years to clear their names. They are happy from that point of view. Generally in Northern Ireland, this has been a running sore for almost 4 decades. So there's a certain amount of closure here today. But it has to be said, some of the families still want soldiers prosecuted. This story may not have finished at all.
All right, and that was going to be my next question. Does this open the door to prosecution? And if so, when and how could it happen?
Well, you would have to imagine that it does open the door for prosecution when you hear that innocent victims were shot in the back as they ran away from soldiers. In any other country in the world, you would expect a conviction. It's a question now for the prosecutors. Will they take it on? Will they prosecute these soldiers? And if they do not, if the state does not prosecute, will the families then take civil actions to bring prosecutions themselves? And
is that something families have indicated they might do?
Absolutely. They want justice. They want final closure. They do want to see who they describe as the murderers of their loved ones. They want to see them brought to justice. They want to have their day in court and conviction and people put in prison if that's what the authorities decide.
And lastly, we saw the pictures from family members and relatives of the victims of that Sunday bloody event in 1972. What about ordinary people across Northern Ireland? Did the country come to a standstill when the report was made public?
Well, this has been a huge issue, of course. This is the event that is being blamed for kick-starting very serious violence which lasted for decades. The event that's being blamed for strengthening the IRA. In fact, the report says that that's exactly what it did. Bloody Sunday strengthened the provisional IRA and increased resentment among the pro-Irish nationalist people. So, of course, like many things in Northern Ireland, this bitterly divides people. We have the pro-British people here, we have the pro-Irish people. Pro-Irish people are very, very happy tonight. Pro-British people, you will hear a lot of them saying that this inquiry, it lasted 12 years, it cost £200 million. Did we learn anything new? So again, in Northern Ireland, nothing is black and white. We're bitterly divided on a lot of things still.
All right, Peter Taggart reporting live for us there on this significant development. Thanks very much. You are at the International